In this video, we are going to do some snow wheeling and some very cold winter camping. We camped just below the snow line to stay out of the wet snow, but it was still very cold. Where we camped next to the river, it was around 17 or 18 degrees Fahrenheit at night. My brother Steve, Sam, and our friend John are all on the trip. As I said, we're going to have some fun snow wheeling. We're also going to make some new friends. We're going to clear some downed trees. We're going to help some people that are stuck. And we're going to talk about tips for sub-freezing winter camping. Before we get into the tips, I'll tell you how the trip began. I first drove over to meet John, and we did a little bit of fishing, and then we went and looked for a campsite. We found this great spot right on the river. It had an established fire pit and was perfect for a group our size. The plan was for Sam and Steve to join us later that night at the campsite, so I just went ahead and got camp set up and got a fire going. And then the guys drove in. The boys are rolling into camp. Steve! Very nice.
Yo,
Hey,
what happened to a 6:25 meet time, you bums?
We got busy.
Should I go back?
No, because you'll open your tailgate and it'll open right for your tent. Okay. So I should mention here that both Sam and I have diesel heaters, and I did bring a Mr. Buddy heater for Steve to use in his tent because we knew it was going to be really cold. But it turned out to be a big fail because Sam bought a splitter for his diesel heater so he could siphon hot air off of his system into Steve's tent.
You may have noticed in an earlier segment that my brother has a brand new diesel heater. You may have also noticed that it has no splitter to warm his brother, yet my loving nephew purchased this so that I would be warm. Love you, Sam.
Love you too, man.
All right, it's the next morning, and as we're getting our day started and heading out of camp and going snow wheeling, I want to talk a little bit about the topic of this video, embarrassing winter camping tips. So these tips are really for very cold winter camping. I'm talking about sub-freezing weather and even sub-zero weather. And when I do videos like this, I draw not only from my own experience, but I also do a fair amount of research just to see if I'm missing something. I also want to mention that my tips are not intended to be a comprehensive list of the most important sub-freezing camping tips. They seem to be covered over and over again in other videos. So instead, I try to give some tips that are either interesting or maybe something you haven't heard before. So in this video, when we talk about sub-freezing winter camping tips, we're not going to rehash the same common tips. So we're not going to talk about layering your clothing. Instead, we're going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about four-season tents. Instead,
We're going to talk about this.
we're not going to talk about base layers. Instead,
We're going to talk about this.
we're not going to talk about the R value of insulated sleeping pads. We're not going to talk about wearing wool, down, and synthetics instead of cotton. We're not going to talk about temperature-rated sleeping bags. What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about this.
We're going to talk about this.
We're going to talk about this.
We are going to talk about this.
Can you say we're going to talk about this?
We're going to talk about this.
Huh? Are we going to talk about that? We're going to talk about this. So yes, embarrassing sub-freezing camping tip number 1 is embrace the pee bottle. So as we're driving out to do some snow wheeling, let's talk a little bit about the pee bottle. As I said, I do a fair amount of research on the topics of my videos, and the articles on true sub-freezing camping now frequently discuss the subject of how we empty our bladders when we are in these very cold sub-freezing environments. And a pee bottle has been a widely used for years but seldom discussed essential item of extreme cold backcountry backpackers and mountaineers. And now it's becoming more and more common in the literature on sub-freezing camping to see the subject of pee bottles being discussed. I think we owe some credit to the 2014 mountaineering movie called Between the Peaks. There's a famous scene in that movie where one of the climbers uses a pee bottle in his tent. He's at 16,000 feet on Mount Aconcagua in Argentina. And this scene, I think, helped open the public conversation about the use of pee bottles. The fact of the matter is, when your bladder is full, your body uses a lot of energy keeping your urine warm, and it also prevents you from getting sleep. So if you want to stay warm and you want to get much needed sleep, embarrassing tip number 1 for extreme cold camping is embrace the pee bottle. Now, there are products that make this process more convenient for women, like the She Whiz or the Whiz Freedom. And there's also a Kula cloth that can be used instead of toilet paper. I'll leave links to all of these in the description to this video. I'll also leave a couple links to articles discussing pee bottles. There are several products that are suitable. Recommendations are typically for a 48-ounce wide mouth bottle. But the pro tip, the important one, is make sure and get a Sharpie and label your pee bottle. If you don't, it is at your own peril. Well, all right, we've been snow wheeling our way up the mountain, and this is where we first meet Tyler. This is him right here. We'll help him winch forward a little bit out of this spot. But we met Tyler, Tabitha, and 3 dogs they had with them, Huxley, Bear, and Pekka. And we wheeled with them for a while, and they were just terrific people. More on them later in the video. First, we'll deal with this winching situation, and then we have a tree to remove. So Tyler and Tabitha fell in convoy with us, and we moved up the hill a little ways. And as I mentioned, there's a blowdown that we're going to have to remove. And this becomes the battle of the chainsaws, because Sam has a new electric chainsaw, and John has his gas-powered chainsaw. We'll call it a tie. So we'll do the recovery ring. Trick on pulling these logs is put your strap next to some of these broken limbs, and it just makes it a lot easier to get your strap back. I'll do it by hand. It's nice. It'll give us a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage. All right, as Steve's getting the winch line ready here, there's something really important to know about winching in the snow. So I'm going to pause the video, blur it out, and bring up another video clip of a winch line pull that we did in the snow, and the winch line snapped. Here it is, watch carefully. All right, I'll let the video resume and explain a little bit about that as we're watching this tree get pulled. You'll notice that this tree is moving along the top of the snow, and that's because the snow is frozen solid. Now, sometimes snow is softer and mushier, and a vehicle or a tree, whatever object you're winching, gets stuck down a little bit into the snow. And so now when you try to winch it, you're not only winching the vehicle or object, but that object is trying to push a giant slab of snow in front of it. So the weight that you're pulling is compounded greatly. You'll actually see a little bit of that with the next tree that we end up winching. But just be aware of this when you're winching in the snow. And the things that you'll want to do is shovel out in front of the vehicle really well, and if possible, winch at a little bit of an upward angle more than normal. This will help prevent the vehicle from burying itself nose first into the snow and pushing that snow slab we were talking about. This is also why you will often see us setting up a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage when we're rigging for winching in the snow. Now, we drove forward, and it wasn't very far, maybe a couple hundred yards, and we got to another tree. And this one, unfortunately, my GoPro conked out on me, but this was a very heavy tree. It was dense and waterlogged, and we ended up setting up a 2-line pull. And as we pulled the tree forward here, you can see that this one did in fact push a bunch of snow with it. You can see the pile of snow there indicated by the yellow arrow. So this one's mine, right?
That was mine.
No, I'm pretty sure this one's mine. This one that's stuck under the tree, 100% guarantee is yours. that one's not coming out. See, that one's yours. Ah, there we go.
Well, I know everything up here. Yeah, nothing up here.
Look at all this new gear I got. I don't know whose it is, but I mean, look at this stuff. All right, the winches are going to get put away and we're going to head down the trail a little further towards a hill climb. But before we get too much further down the trail, let me flash back to camp this morning and let's talk about sub-freezing camping tip number 2, and that has to do with preparation of your rooftop tent. It's going to start with your floor. The aluminum floor is going to conduct cold into your tent and it's going to make it a refrigerator. I took out everything that came from the manufacturer and put in a very thin closed cell foam mat. This is like a thin yoga mat. It's very light. With this, I never need an anti-condensation mat or anything else. This is all I use winter and summer. This together with the Xped mattress you see makes the perfect floor combination. The Xped mattress has a R value of 8.5. It's rated down to negative 45.4 degrees Fahrenheit. I now use the thinner one. It's 3 inches thick. So instead of the Mega Mat, which is almost 4 inches thick, I use the Deep Sleep Xped. Okay, next, no matter what your heater of choice is, if you have a Mr. Buddy or whatever you're using, get a ceiling fan. All the heat's going to go to the top of your tent. If you have a ceiling fan like this one, or the one that Steve has in his tent, it keeps all the heat down where you are, where you're sleeping. All right, back to the snow wheeling. We're going to head up the ridge a little ways. We're going to take a left turn, and we are going to come to an abrupt stop. And this is on a hill climb. And again, the video always makes this look absolutely flat, but we are actually at the base of a hill climb here, and all the vehicles get stuck. And Sam lets us know what he thinks of our weak hill climbing skills.
Posers. Posers.
So in our defense, we do actually make it up this hill, but also these were icy snow conditions. It was not like these video clips from our last snow wheeling movie where it was just fluffy powder. Here's a description of the snow conditions. So you can hear the ice, right? So the tires have to crunch through that. Then they get into this. So it was an ice crust on top of powdery ice granules. Okay, back to our predicament.
You stuck? What do you think, Steve?
I think I've exceeded my traction.
All right, I just want to again show the quality of this snow. This is like ice crystals that are so hard they're like BBs. I can break trail. I got twin lockers, so I think I can pick it.
You know what sucks? To suck.
Maybe you should hook up to Sam's and he'll pull you backwards and then you can go. What do you think?
That's his happy look. What are you talking about? If you get his mad look, you're in trouble. So if you're watching closely, you'll notice that even though every one of us got stuck, we all gave Steve a hard time. Anyways, here I give it some momentum and give the hill a try. So I end up making it, and again, the camera makes it look absolutely flat, but it's a little steeper, obviously, than it looks on film. And here's my description afterwards. So it's a full-on momentum game, and I could feel it just surfing the top of the icy crust. And now I'm up here, and this is fantastic. All right, well, I'm basking in the glory of the very, very minor accomplishment of driving up a snowy hill. Let's hop over and talk about sub-freezing camping tip number 3, which has to do with sleeping bag prep. What I'm lining out here are Carousel USB rechargeable hand warmers. They are very warm and they last all night. The sleeping bag you see is a North Face Inferno 800 Pro. It is a 0 degrees Fahrenheit bag, and I also have a North Face bag which is a 30 degrees Fahrenheit bag. Here I'm going to show you a video clip from a trip to Hell's Canyon and another snow wheeling trip. Both of these were very cold trips. In Hell's Canyon it was near zero. In very cold weather like that, I will take the 30 degree bag and I will insert it into the 0 degree bag. I will then toss 1 or 2 of those Carousel hand warmers in, and I have slept in absolute freezing conditions like that and been perfectly warm. When I do that, I don't run any kind of a heater in the tent. I don't like them. I'll simply turn on a Mr. Buddy or something like that when I'm getting up in the morning. So that's sub-freezing camping tip number 3. Stack your sleeping bags and get some USB rechargeable hand warmers. All right, now back to the hill climb we were at. Steve is getting ready to attack the hill.
I think you're supposed to remember your combo.
Well, Steve's going to get backed up here and get a good approach and get some momentum for this climb and then just shred it.
This is how I start my climb.
That is awesome. All right, while Sam is getting set up for his assault on the hill, we will reintroduce you to Tyler, Tabitha, and their 3 dogs, Huxley, Bear, and Pekka. As I said, we met them on the trail earlier. Tyler is an EMT, forest firefighter, and he's starting a nonprofit. His links with details for the nonprofit are all in the video description. So now we'll check back in with Steve, who's somewhere at the top of this hill. Steve! I saw your car fishtailing wildly all over the trail, but you didn't back off.
No, the hot ticket is to put it in manual so you can go between second gear and third gear while in 4-wheel low.
Roger that. Well, with that hot tip, here comes Sam heading up the hill. No problem at all. But the definite style points winner of the day was John. His climb was a thing of beauty. He drove it like he just robbed a bank. Awesome. At this point, we decided to head back down the hill. Tyler was still at the bottom, and just fair warning to anybody who decides to hang out and go snow wheeling with us, we're probably going to get you stuck. So anyways, remember to check out Tyler's nonprofit information in the video description. We got him pulled over into this side spot and then brought all the vehicles around. We then caravanned out together and went to a trailhead. We were going to let the dogs get some exercise and go on a hike. But before we get too far into the hike, this would be a good time to talk about sub-freezing camping. Tip number 4, which has to do with batteries. Okay, next tip on cold weather camping and especially sub-freezing camping has to do with your battery maintenance. Batteries do not perform well in cold weather. So if you have a Jackery or other power station, some kind of thermal protection for that is a good idea. We like to use this. Pretty much any power station can fit in it, but it's a thermal bag. Close it. And typically that will be sufficient. If you're in really cold weather, get one of these guys, which is a hand warmer. It's a USB rechargeable hand warmer. Take that, drop it in with your Jackery, and it'll perform like a champ. So all my other batteries, my GoPro batteries, my drone batteries, iPhone, everything that I've got that has a battery in cold weather goes into a cooler like this. So it drops in. I turn one of these guys on, it drops in, and in the morning my batteries work perfectly. All right, that was battery maintenance, and now back to our hike. If you've seen some of our other videos, you know we emphasize not just driving when you're overlanding. In other words, take time to do other things. So for example, on this trip, we did some fly fishing. We're going on a hike. So we do things to try and incorporate other activities into the overlanding experience. I bet you could jump from this one to that one. Whoa! No! Good save. It was slippier than it looked.
It's way slippier than it looks.
With knives on it. Sam, catch!
She didn't.
Oh, nice snag! Woo!
They're at the transition out. Yeah, we're currently going out.
After the hike, we said goodbye to Tyler and Tabitha and headed back to camp. We got a fire started, and when the 4 of us are together, it's hard to say who's really the instigator. But in this case, it was Sam, and he began a conversation, or I should say debate, about who got stuck the most and who did the best on the hill climb.
JJ and I were the only ones who did not get stuck. Booyah! I did throw the chains on, but I crawled up that hill like super easy. I didn't need momentum. I was just nice and controlled. Mostly because I figured I'd have to come rescue you again.
Rescue me.
That's correct. I believe I pushed your vehicle out of those divots.
Well, I was stuck at the bottom of the hill.
I agree with John. This is off camera, but that one.
Yeah, I'm not filming.
But the
I just want to be able to see you.
well, this is the next morning. We got up early. That conversation actually went on for a while, but it was all in good fun. Got the breakfast setup going here.
Got a thermos this time. I make like a double, triple batch.
What's your breakfast?
I've got some Bob's Red Mill. Got my coffee as well.
There you go. This is a propane boneyard. These are the canisters that kept Steve from freezing last night.
Hey, Steve. John's not here, so I stole the camera.
Hey Steve, my GoPro has a security shutoff. Can't quite tell how cold it was last night. Doing a little morning river walk. Hey, who's coming?
I had to get my coffee. On the other side of those downed logs, it splits into a big open meadow. Hopefully it picks up.
We've got two hardcore fishermen behind me having a serious conversation about steelhead. After the morning walk, we broke camp, hopped in the vehicles, and headed out to do some more snow wheeling. The plan for the day is to drive up to a fire lookout tower. Here we're taking some side trails on the way to the lookout tower, and we soon encounter our first obstacle of the day.
About a 20-inch tree.
Let's take a look. Yeah, that's a pretty big tree. So Sam's going to go after this tree with his electric chainsaw. None of us knew whether or not an electric chainsaw would actually do okay on a tree of this size, and it actually turned out to do a really good job. I'm going to help my brother roll this log. Here we go. All right, I'm helping. Ready? Steve.
One.
Ready? Here we go. Yeah, that was hard work, guys. John's the smart one with the lever. That's my boot right there. I'm doing everything I can. There we go.
That's amazing.
Something in there so it doesn't roll back.
We've got 4 vehicles with winches. But that's actually working pretty easily.
Well, nice to know it can get through. What do you think that is, 20-inch tree?
That's a big tree.
Hey, you're a beast back there. We never would have gotten that log.
Yeah, it was that little extra that was needed.
That boot push. I'm impressed. So while we're driving over to the ridge, this would be a good time to talk about our sub-freezing camping tip 5, and this has to do with diesel heaters. You know, if it's 15, 12-ish degrees, I'm not getting out of my tent for anything. So Sam and I both have diesel heaters, and they really are amazing, especially on longer trips. On a short trip, you can stack sleeping bags and put hand warmers in them, and you're going to be just fine. The issue with longer trips in cold weather is that condensation just becomes your enemy. The colder the weather and the longer the trip, you just seem to be fighting this losing battle against condensation, and that's true even with a dry change of clothes and proper ventilation. Your boots especially get wet, everything just seems to get waterlogged. Even your body puts off water vapor, so your sleeping bag insulation starts to get wet from the inside. We've got a couple of cross-country skiers coming down the road. Hi guys. It's getting deep.
Are you breaking trail, JJ? Yeah, we are now for sure. Okay, do it straight.
Watch the ridge, guys. It was tossing us all over.
Bouncing all over the place.
Back to diesel heaters. The great thing about a diesel heater is it pumps clean, dry air into your tent. So it will actually dry out everything in the tent. I put wet boots in the tent at night and they're dry in the morning.
John, snowball coming at you.
Where? There's some brotherly love. That's not a snowball, that was like an ice ball.
We're going down in the snow!
You know, you should always air down your tires, and Steve's look like he has a little too much air in them. So we're gonna air down his tires. I'm airing down your tires, Steve.
Oh, hey, guess what?
What?
I was gonna air down yours.
So my brother gave me a gift, which is a custom knife that has my Overland Pacific Northwest logo on it. It looks like this one. This one has his aired down Overland logo on it. And I'm getting all kinds of flack because I brought a different knife, which was
I spent a lot of
bad
time
form on me.
customizing a knife for my brother.
Yeah.
Where's your knife at? At home.
So it's my everyday knife. I actually love it. I carry it every day.
It hurts me.
Yeah. I hope the what was the heater I gave? I hope the Mr. Buddy went a little ways towards consoling that.
I'll let you borrow this one.
Personal grooming on the trail is important.
Looks good.
I have some finishing thoughts on diesel heaters, but first we're going to head down the mountain here, and on our way we're going to stop and do a crawl control test. We'll show a little bit of that footage here, but it's for a future video.
No, I just buried myself to crawl control. It's intentional.
This is an intentional crawl control test. So you're going to do crawl control level 1. Just put it straight and let it do its work, like in the sand.
We've discovered the limit of crawl control.
So this is an intentional getting stuck, not driver error. We did this for a crawl control test, and now we'll do an extraction. Sam's doing the setup on this using soft shackle. So both of these were sacrificial getting stuck situations so we could do some crawl control tests.
Yeah, I've got my D-rings or D-shackles on so tight.
JJ's going to be going that way, so the rope should actually almost
Good to go.
Roger, go.
Yeah, you get all ready for this big hit, and then it's just like, swing.
We're gonna do a quick winch on Sam. There's several ways to do this, but just because we want a lot of control.
Always from the bottom up.
So we know it's not a great angle.
That wasn't too bad. It was such a gentle pull.
Man, look how wet the snow is on my leg. I was gonna say, Sam, I've got those recovery items for you, but I've got nothing for Steve. Nothing.
Makes sense.
What would you call that, Steve? A salute of some kind?
Friendly brotherly wave.
I got a friendly brotherly wave out the window from Steve. I've seen those from angry drivers before.
We got ongoing traffic. I think he's stuck.
All right, we've got somebody stuck possibly up here. John? Berta? Our new friends. We're gonna just move this vehicle back. The plan is 4 traction boards and 2 shovels. All right, so you guys are all firefighters.
Yeah, all of us.
Fantastic.
This is my church out here. So.
This is great.
We don't have help, so this is fantastic. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy.
Janky knees go. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna do that.
No, I got it. I got it. Here I go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna do 3.
We're pulling him out of the divot so he can back with momentum onto the boards. So we are equalizing the weight on this because we're coming off of factory tie down points. All right, go.
Yeah. I think right there's good.
All right, stop. All right, we're clear. You're good to go. Go, 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 go. Okay, we got the red vehicle to a wide spot in the road, and now we can get John's vehicle around the red vehicle, and he can now pull him out the rest of the way.
Sleigh ride going backwards on film?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
This one won't take much.
I'm gonna pull him to the top, right?
Yeah, pull him to the flat.
Yeah, and then we can turn him around.
All right, perfect. Say it again.
Look how cute that little baby saw is.
See, Sana, see how cute that little baby saw is. John, you just had your chainsaw called cute by a firefighter. Good to go.
Okay. Is he driving?
Yeah, just watch him because he's going to want to go this way. Straight. Now we'll give Steve a little pull out of these divots. All right, I'm going.
Oh yeah, Doug.
Goodbye, man. Thanks so much. You're awesome.
See ya.
You guys are awesome.
Thanks, man. All right, as we're driving out, just a few final thoughts on diesel heaters. I think the real selling point is just its ability to dry things out. As I said, condensation is the enemy of winter camping. The other thing is you can have your tent 70 degrees when it's 15 degrees or less outside. So there's a big comfort factor there. We had a blast on this trip. It's all good fun, guys. Thanks for watching.
That was fun.
How was? Hey guys, the winner of the Ellis Precision Shifter giveaway was selected using a random picker. The winner was Open Road for Two. Please give them a shout out. You can see their details in the comments to this video.